Hey, what's up? It's Laura Landers, and you're listening to the Live Sick, Die Ill podcast, episode Nick Clark. Did you know you're your own podcast? You're not even a number, you're a name.
Really?
I just made that up right now.
Hey, I love it.
You know what? And when I was in college, this is a really side note, and then we're going to get right into it.
Yep.
In college, they advertised that you're a name, not a number. And then as soon as we auditioned, we were a number. Once we got into the college, we were always numbered. We got put into classes that were numbered, and it was like such a lie. So I'm not lying to you here when I say that you're a name, not a number.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. So, Nick, okay. I wanted to bring you on this podcast because you have gone through like a crazy 180 career change. And what I love about that and what we're talking about on this podcast is just like what happens in life when you go through something super severe, which is a career change or something traumatic or something amazing, any of the spectrum. And you have really done a big change in your life with your career when you started where you're at. And I would just love to hear all about it because it's quite a story. And what is this smile?
Oh, no,
I love it. No, I love it. I feel like your humbleness is really coming out right now because you are very humble. And what I view from the outside is that you're like this booming success. I don't know if that's what it feels like, or maybe it does feel like that. So I feel like what a lot of people hear in life is the story of the struggle, right? But very rarely do people get to hear the story of success from the struggle. Mm-hmm. But I feel like you have the success. Maybe I'm wrong, and I'd love to hear about that, but let's start from the beginning.
Yeah.
So you went to college for
football.
And then what happened from there? Because we know that you did football.
Yeah.
And you're incredibly smart, clearly, because you did engineering.
Yeah. So I went to Texas State University on a football scholarship. Got my undergrad in math and got my master's in physics. And went into engineering after that.
Okay.
Or I guess the specialty within physics that I did was material science, which is like a lot of people that do material science go into like electrical engineering, like very small scale electrical engineering, which is, chip manufacturing and that sort of thing.
Yeah. So that's what you did.
Yeah.
And you enjoyed it?
Yeah.
So the whole
I enjoy chaos. Like that was a very chaotic environment because the high tech field moves very fast. Like everything in your computers and phones, like the people who make those chips, they're making 4 to 5 like different nodes of those chips like every year.
Oh wow.
So like you tool like the whole process to make this this one, let's say level 8 of this chip.
Yeah.
Right? And then you send out thousands of those, and then 3 months later it's like, hey guys, we're on to iteration 9. So you have to figure out like what tooling and stuff you need for the new process for this new chip, and it's like that.
And you thrived in that
4 times a year. And yeah, I liked the chaos. Yeah.
So when you went to college for football, and by the way, for the listeners, just wait, because the story gets so much better. I'm like so stoked on this. But I actually, I remember you saying a while ago that you went to college for football, but give me a little insight behind did you ever stop football in college? Did you do it all the way through? Did you like want to be a professional? I'm clearly, if you went to college for it, I bet you did. But then like, where was the switch from that to getting your master's and moving forward with that?
So, every, Texas high school football is, life. So after that, I actually went to the Naval Academy because they played football on TV. And like that's all every Texas high school football player wants to do is play big time football on Saturdays on ABC or whatever.
Amazing.
And I was a shorter guy for like the positions that I played, so I didn't get a whole lot of looks from like the huge, UTs and Alabamas and all those schools. So Naval Academy was like there's the Army Navy game, there's the Navy Air Force game, there's the Navy Notre Dame game. So I figured like, I'll go here and play 4 big time games a year. And I went up there, and like it's a very rigorous, right? It's very rigorous schedule and all that. But really, like the cold is what detoured me from staying up there. And you have to serve 5 years afterwards. And as a 17-year-old kid, like being in this like rigorous place for 10 years, like that just seemed like a whole lifetime.
Yeah, that was a big
for
commitment.
Me to be in the cold, like. So I was like, I'm done with this.
Yeah.
And then transferred to Texas State University. And went down there with the focus on football and trying to hopefully get into the league one day. And I guess maybe my junior year, I graduated early. And so my senior year, I had the choice of, and I won this award that gave me like $20K in scholarship money.
Yeah.
So that was on top of my football scholarship.
That's amazing.
So basically I was thinking, okay, I can double major, like who wants that? Or or I can get them to pay for my grad school, and that's what I did. And I just had much more of a connection with the physics students really than I did like the math department students. Like the physics students were like really cool and still some of my best friends still
That's
today.
That's awesome.
And that's why I majored. That's why I got my graduate degree in physics. And so really around that time, like senior year of football is when I started to say like, okay, maybe like the NFL like isn't my thing.
Yeah.
And I'll pursue academia in the research field and that sort of thing.
So let me ask you, just said that you realized that going into the NFL wasn't realistic. When you went through that mindset, like how did you grasp that and then let it go and move forward? Because changing like that, especially, dude, when you're going to a college for that, and then you decide like, I just spent, well, you said you graduated early, so I don't know, 3-ish years doing that. Letting it go is so hard.
Yeah.
How did you just give your piece to that and move on?
Well, I mean, like just seeing, like when you're a freshman playing ball, and I started all 4 years there, so I was like cool with all the people who did go to the league, and like I was seeing like the guys who didn't make the combines who would go do arena league stuff or CFL or just try. And I had an injury my junior year. I tore my PCL. So like things were just, I just had the choice of being like, because I was also really good at academia and I was really good at football, but the barrier to entry to NFL was going to be a lot longer, and that's like a full-time job. Like trying to get into the league is, like workouts and just really focusing on that. So I was like, okay, I got academia working out for me too. I'll just pivot here. And it wasn't a huge, for me at least, it wasn't a huge like let down. Like, oh man, I'm not gonna go to the league. I guess I'll do physics now. It was, physics just makes more sense right now. I'll go here.
So was it more of like you dreaded the long haul for something that you knew wasn't exactly what you wanted, so you're like, let's just move forward at a faster pace?
Absolutely.
That's great that you had that opportunity.
Yeah.
So now that was like step 1 was football, and step 2 was physics.
Yep.
Step 3 is something totally different we haven't talked about yet, and that is your transition from physics into the music world, the music industry, which is how we know you. me and Jordan and I, we didn't know you before that, you know, even though we were both in Texas in different parts. I'm assuming you had played music your whole life?
So I I took piano lessons when I don't even remember, maybe 5 or something like that. But then, you know, Pee Wee football starts at like 6 or 7. So like
Pee Wee is the cutest name ever. Sorry. I just had to throw that in there. Just to see you playing Pee Wee football. That's so great.
So like I took piano lessons, and then once football started, it was football for the next 15 years of my life. I did, like, once I got into junior high, I picked up French horn. So like that was my first, like,
I didn't know that. Wow.
What do you call it? Like, formally taught, instrument. And you know, once you get into high school and you start working out with varsity, it's like, all right, dog, you gotta pick football or French horn. Like,
yeah. And so you picked football.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Which actually, I only know people that usually pick the music side. So that's really cool.
My freshman, I did try to do both. Like, I was the kid who would, like, you saw me in uniform marching during halftime at the games.
That's not exhausting at all. Or maybe it wasn't then because you're a teenager.
Yeah, I was going to say, it wasn't exhausting then because I was a teenager.
You're just shoving Pop-Tarts in your mouth, and you're like, this is the best fuel I've ever had. I, like, lived off of Taco Bell.
Eating fried chicken before the games.
Oh, my gosh. That's amazing. So, you know what? Because this is really interesting to me, because I truly, with what you're doing now, which we're going to get into, I feel like this is like a surprise. Like, we're like not telling people what you're doing yet, but we will. I feel like just with what you're doing now with your career, that you've been playing music your whole freaking life.
No, I didn't really start taking bass. I'm a bass guitar is my main instrument. I didn't really start so like my senior year of high school, second semester, the bass player at our church left, and like I sang in the choir, and it was just like, oh, the bass player left. I'll go buy a bass and figure out how to play it.
Yeah. And
that's what I did. But so like that was my second semester senior year, and then right after that, I think June, like school is over in May. June, boot camp started for the Navy. So like I had a good semester of like really like trying to pick through the bass, but like after that, like it stopped because of boot camp. And then I started to pick it up again, maybe right before my junior year of college is when I started to pick. So
that's like 3-year gap.
Yeah.
That's a long time.
It is. I feel like with music, but I just grew up around it. Like my mom sang, my dad has tons of records. Like if the music is in you already, you know, just figuring out the mechanics of an instrument doesn't take a whole lot of time.
Yeah. So, wow, I'm honestly fascinated because I had no idea that this was your story. This is incredible. So, I just imagine you, by the way, like that you realized that at your church they needed a bass player. You bought a bass. I truly could see you in your room just playing for like 3 hours, and you got it down. And then you played the next Sunday for them.
Well, like, you know what happened is there was this blues, like it wasn't even a station. It was like the local, you know, public radio station that had blues every day from 6 to 8. And that's how I learned how to play the bass.
That's awesome.
Was just listening to the blues on the radio and picking out, you know.
That'll do it for you.
Because blues is 1-4-5, and that's what the American songbook is based off of. So I feel like if you learn the blues, like that gives you the building blocks to do anything else in music.
So, I mean, I'm not in the music industry, but Jordan is, and Jordan's a bassist, and he tells me all about that. And so I feel like this could easily turn into a music podcast right now, but only with my knowledge from Jordan.
Right.
So I'm oh yeah, so you play in the pocket, right? How's your tone? You know, just do you slap or do you not? Like, how high do you play your bass? I'm like, okay, Laura, I'm like running these questions through my head. Like, I don't need to impress. You know enough. I don't need to add to that.
You don't need to impress anybody.
We'll put you on another podcast someday to talk about music. Jordan can replace me, and y'all can just talk one day.
Right.
That's incredible. So, you finally got into bass around junior year in college. And did you like just pick it up and run and you've never stopped, or did you like?
No, just started playing at church. Church around Austin. So Texas State University, San Marcos, which is 25-minute drive away from Austin. So I just started playing at church, and just kind of grew from there.
So here's where it gets juicy for me, at least, is when did you decide, now that you're playing bass, you're playing it for your church, you got your master's in physics, was there like I mean, it's almost cliche to say, but was there like that aha moment, that shift that you decided to let physics go and start playing music and go after that for your career? Or was it like a slow?
Yeah, it was just kind of a slow, gradual kind of thought process. I got my master's in spring of 2009. Is that right? Ish.
Sure.
Yeah, spring of 2009, and then actually the semester after that is when I met my now wife Kelly.
The best.
And that year after my graduate degree, I just took a year off from like everything, just because I had been like going so
Yep.
Like I was a freight train. I look back now and say like, man, how was I able to stay that focused? Because I was.
Did you ever burn yourself out?
No, I don't. No. I mean, some people outside looking in, probably my mom or somebody would say that. But like while I was in it, I was just, just had my head down and it was just going. It was.
That's awesome.
It was just normal. Like one thing, like when I went to the Naval Academy, like the schedule was like you were going from 5 a.m. to 11 p.m. at night every day.
That's hard.
Like rigorous. And so like once I got to like civilian school, it was just like 3 or 4 classes a day, and then football practice, and then you had to, and then you had the option to do what you wanted to do. So I was like, oh, this is nothing. You know what I'm saying? It was kind of already ingrained in me to like go to 8 classes a day, and then extra tutoring after classes, and then football practice, and then there was a mandatory study time, and then you had 30 minutes to like, to yourself to write letters or whatever. So like that was my schedule for 6-7 months. So once I got to Texas State and saw how non-rigorous the schedule was, I just kept a few of I still kept like my 7 to 10 study time at night, and I just kept that habit up. I just kind of kept up the habit of.
So you're not a lazy person then?
I don't know.
I view myself as a lazy person. If that happened to me, I'd be like, I'm taking my time. It didn't sound like that's what you did. I mean, clearly you were like happy to keep going.
Yeah. So that year off, I took that year off just because I'd been going. And so that year, like my way of making money was music, playing gigs, playing church gigs, so on and so forth. And then the year after that is when I got a call from Samsung Austin Semiconductor. Like I had friends that I went to grad school with who had jobs there, and they had mentioned me to Samsung, and I applied. And
love that.
Yeah. So I became a chemical vapor deposition engineer for Samsung Austin Semiconductor, which sounds a whole lot more like.
I'm like, what the?
Right.
I feel just so dumb, but
right.
I love that.
Right. Like everybody outside of the semiconductor industry is like, dude, what did you do? And like everybody inside of the industry is like, oh man, that's all you did.
I love it. The engineers listening are like, yeah.
Right. They're like, yeah, whatever. You ran machines.
That's insane.
So yeah, that's what I did I got that job in 2010, and just like really like I had that job, but I was still like playing gigs and, just my, uh, I guess just continuing to move up the ladder of Austin musicians, becoming like a first call bass player for a lot
Yeah.
of stuff. And then hanging out with guys who were doing music full time. Cause like I didn't really have an example of that growing up. So it was like doing music full time really wasn't even a, like,
It wasn't a career.
yeah, it wasn't anything that I was thinking about at all.
Ah.
And then once I started playing with those guys and seeing what the lifestyle was like and seeing like, oh, people do play music for a living full time. Like,
Yeah.
I just started to develop more confidence into thinking, man, I could do this. I could do this. And,
That's cool.
but man, like that job at Samsung, chaotic, right? It was an all day chaotic job. I had to be there for pass down at 6:30, and I was pretty much there until, on average, till about 5:30 or so.
Oh yeah, that's
every
a
day.
long day every day.
And but I would do that, go home, like maybe eat with Kelly, practice, and then go gig, like
yeah.
3 to 4 times a week. So I was engineer day,
Wow.
musician night. And then it just kind of came to a point where, like, Kelly, like, just encouraged me. It was like, why don't you just do music full time? And I was like, huh.
That's so interesting that she pointed that out to you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Did she, and I don't know if you can speak for her in this, but did she say that to you because she was like frustrated that you weren't around a lot, or did she notice that you were falling out of love with your job, or was it none of that?
No, more so it was just, not being home a lot.
Yeah.
Because I didn't fall, like, a lot of people's like career change stories are like, man, I hated my day gig, so I started my business. So like that wasn't my story at all.
How unique.
Like
I love that.
I felt like I literally felt a calling to do music full time. Like it wasn't, man, I hate my Samsung job and I want to do this like entrepreneur thing. It was like I felt called to music because of the relationships that I was developing, and I was like getting involved in like the church community a lot on the scene, and there's a lot of because of my background in science, like I was starting to gain relationship with a lot of the atheist community, and like able to have discussions about church and philosophy and all these things like within that community. So I just felt more of a like that my influence on earth, like in life, was being in that community. Like that would be like kind of more of my stamp, rather than staying at Samsung. Like at Samsung, I was having a great time there, but really didn't feel the same like human to human level of impact that I had,
especially on the spiritual level,
in the music scene on the spiritual level. Right.
Wow. So when Kelly mentioned that to you, and then you kind of did that rest in you for a while before you decided to go full on music?
Oh yeah, I was so I was there for a little under 5 years, or something around there. But like the last 2 years was 2 years of me like studying, like I was reading biographies and interviews and listening to all that stuff every day. I was at lunchtime every day. I would the first 3 to 4 years I was there, lunchtime was like go hang with the fellas, whoever, like during lunchtime, and like that's a break, and then come back and get to work. Like the last 2 years, like I went up to the break room and like was reading Bible plans so I could just be more aligned with what God wanted me to do.
Yeah.
And God he just started aligning stuff like those last 2 years to let me know that, like, hey, bro, I got you over here. Just to let you know I got you.
That's awesome.
Like, it's not going to be anything, by your own power that gives you success. And it's just going to be me, aligning things for you. All I need you to do is just follow me. And he just started, like, putting together, like, clear signs that really illuminated that truth to me. And then
that's amazing.
Like once the scale tipped over to like I feel like there's a scale of like fear and faith, and like a lot of the time we're like doing things out of fear, and like like God gives you these like nuggets to like help you grow your faith, faith, and then like the scale tips over and it's like, oh, my faith is greater than my fear now. I'm gonna go this faith direction.
Yes. Woo! Get this man a microphone. Oh wait, he's got one now. Oh my gosh, Nick! Thank you for bringing me to church this morning. I love that. So now that I'm like in this journey with you now. So now, time stamped, we are here. You've gotten the faith over fear. You're going after music, but you're still in Texas.
Mm-hmm.
And if you guys didn't know, Nick is playing for some really big artists now, which in a lot of people's eyes, and probably yours too, that's a big sign of success. And we all know, I mean, we're just talking about God's favor and like it's all God, right? It's just amazing. I can see when you're nodding, it's like I feel your humbleness when you're nodding. Like you don't I love that. It's incredible, but you are very talented, and just to see and hear how you're bringing God to people through the music industry is just so sick. So, and I know you're wanting to continue doing that. You're continuing to, I mean, even during the pandemic, you're playing for JoJo. Weren't you just playing for JoJo? And
yeah, she did a Colbert performance last week.
Yeah.
She did an awesome job.
And H.E.R.
Yeah, last year, yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And Kanye's Sunday services, of course. And so now, here in your story, you're playing music, you're doing it full time. How long were you in Texas before you decided to move out to LA for that?
I was there, so back to like the alignment kind of thing, right? Like around the time where like the faith and fear like started to like balance out. My pastor, H.E.R, he was a worship leader at a church, but we had connected through music before that. We were working on music together, and he left his church to start his own church.
Nice.
And asked me and Kelly if we would help like be a part of the foundation of this church.
Yeah.
Which came right around the time that I was like really thinking about leaving Samsung and like all these things. So I was like, yeah, that's
right. Seems like good timing.
Yeah, that'll be my focus. And so that's what I was doing in Texas for, for the next 4 or 5 years or so, was just like I did some touring and a lot of gigging around town. But like church, like really focusing on like just, one, helping build the church, but hindsight, just building my character throughout that time through like Eric's discipleship and that community was a really like grounding like time for me. Yeah. To where like you realize what's important, which is your character, which is your faith, which is you staying grounded spiritually, like no matter what, like the highs and lows, like making sure that's intact. So like that 4 to 5 years building there taught me that. And like that whole 4 or 5 years, like I wanted to like move to New York. Like
you were like, I'm ready. I'm
like ready.
God's
I'm ready.
like, no, you're not.
I'm ready. And God, and not even God. Kelly was like, it's not time yet. And Kelly wanted to go too, but like Kelly has more of a like, she has more of an ear.
Yeah, more discernment.
Yeah, for that kind of stuff. And she was like, it's not time. It's not time. It's not time. It's not time. It's
You're
not
like,
time.
I hate hearing that, but I also love hearing that. Thank you, but I'm mad.
Right. So that whole time, we're there just, being obedient, and where am I? So yeah, we're there just being obedient, and then like as far as like the move to LA, I got a call. So actually, like I wouldn't call this like a dark time or whatever, but like just time where we were like figuring out, we're kind of at the end of our like, okay, what are we doing? Like what are we doing here?
Yeah.
And like we both started like dealing with like mental like issues and stuff and staying focused. So we went on a fast, like I think starting in November of that year, like 2018 or whatever. And then like we just fasted the rest of the year. I'm trying to condense this. Let's fast it through the rest of the year. And like I got a call from a really huge band, and went and auditioned. The audition went great, and called my pastor back, tell him tell him what's going on, and he was like it ended up not happening, but he told me, he was like, oh, it's about to be like time for you to go. And excuse me.
No, you're good.
And then the church, like the first 3 weeks of the year, everybody does a Daniel fast, right? So we just kept fasting through that.
Yeah.
And literally the last weekend of that fast, I got a call from Ye's MD that they were like starting like this thing in LA, and he was
just this little thing.
Yeah, just this little thing in LA, and he was like, man, if you're flexible for a couple of weeks, I'd love to have you out here. And during this fast, like the whole time God was telling me, don't take any work in 2019.
All
like
right.
Nothing outside of church. And so my schedule was clear. I was flexible to come out to LA, and like it was a week to week like kind of thing. And that week to week went from January to February to March. And then March rolled around and Kelly was like, we're supposed to be out there. It's time to go.
Yeah.
And
then you guys made the move.
Then we made the move. And ironically, that first week that I got to LA in January, one of my best friends was moving from LA back to Austin.
Oh.
And so he went and lived like in my house, our house that we have in Austin. And like he's cool with Kelly, and
Great.
so he was able to go and hold down the fort for me there.
Nice.
And so when it became time to move out here, like we already had renters.
Look at God taking care of it.
You know what I'm saying?
That.
And so that's how I got to LA.
So then you guys moved here. Well, I guess I should say Kelly then moved here after
Kelly then
you were
moved
here in April.
Her sister lives downtown, and so I was just crashing on their couch. And I have other friends here too, back from Texas. So I was just crashing on mostly their couch for that 3 months or so, and then we signed a lease here April 1st.
That's awesome. And then Jordan and I met you guys because you came to our church, and that was awesome.
Yep.
And now that you've been here for, oh my gosh.
I guess it'll be going on 2 years in January for me.
Whoa.
Right. It just flew by.
Whoa, 2020. That's really mind-blowing. Truly, I'm like rocked by that. Now that you guys have been here for so long, and I've heard that Kelly wants to move overseas someday, like that's her dream, and I'm sure you want to help her in that move and like be there and experience that. That's so cool. Where do you see your career going now? Are you just like right in the middle of it and loving it, and like you are super content with the gigs you're getting? Is it not enough for you? Are you satisfied? Like, I think because it's so, you've got the names, right? You've got the names that you're playing for.
Yeah.
And so some people think that that's the end. Like, that's it. You've made it. You're playing Kanye Sunday services. That's crazy. Like, he's got nowhere to go.
Like, I'm grateful and content in whatever stage of God's journey that I'm in. I'll say it like that. Because like that word, like I always smile like on the inside when somebody says like success, or where do you see your career, and all that kind of stuff. Because like nobody knows like God's vision for you except for you. So when people say you're successful, like, what is that? Like, do they know God's vision for you? You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
Man, you're so successful. And it's like, I'm grateful for that. Like, I'm grateful
Yeah.
that people see me in that light. But in my head, I'm thinking, like, man, you have no idea what, like, the vision that God gave me for my career.
Yeah, yeah.
And, like I'm barely even scratching the surface.
Which is, I mean, that just shows God's character right there, right?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Absolutely.
That's so cool to hear, because whether people are connected to God or not, and they see a successful person and they hear the story of it, you know, we never think about the life after success. You just think, all I want to do is get to that success. Like, I will give anything to get to that point. I will be satisfied. But I think we will, like, never be satisfied. In a sense. Now, don't get me wrong. God satisfies us. But, like, there's not an end point.
Right, exactly. Yeah, there is no, like, there's no, there's no end point, right? Like the idea of, like, the idea that people work to retire is, like, where does God talk about retiring? You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
and not to talk crap about retiring,
sure.
but just, you know, the fact that, like, people, like, work 20, 30 years or whatever to get to, like, this point.
Yeah,
and then there's, like, this culture of just, like, coasting after that.
Right.
It's like something that's, like, foreign to me now. It's just,
yeah, right.
Like, I'm on this, like, journey of, like building my character and, like, figuring out what God wants for me, and, like, working through all of my little insecurities and, like, all that kind of stuff, so that God can, like, get me to the next phase. Yeah. And I won't even say, like, next, like, step up. It's not necessarily a step up. It's just the next phase, that the next area that God wants you to be.
Yeah.
So, like, treating every like, I feel like if you treat every step along the journey as just, like, this is just the phase that God has me in right now to grow in an area. And, like, I'm gonna use this opportunity to grow in whatever area that he wants me to prepare me for the next one. And, like, you know, he may give you more influence in the next, right. In the next step in your journey or whatever, but it's not like a hierarchy thing. It's not a, like, I'm just doing small gigs in Austin, and now I'm doing big gigs in Austin, and now I'm touring, and now I'm, doing this and doing that. Like, it's not a
right. Like,
it's not like a step up.
Because then you get in the trap of measuring your success based off the step up.
Then you get into the trap of finding of your identity.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Coming from, like, who you're playing with, or
right,
or, like, where you are in your career. And, like, those 4 years right before I got out here, like, that's what that was teaching me, and I'm very grateful for that.
What a great lesson.
Because now it's like, I mean, I'm grateful for all the opportunities that come my way. Mm-hmm. But to me, they're just, like, me inserting, like, my character and my influence in this place, rather than me looking at it like, oh, I'm about to do the BET Awards with her. Like, I need to, like,
right.
I need to be my best self and blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, if you're just focusing on being your best self, no matter where you are, like, there's no, like, the stress of the gig isn't there. It's just, I'm gonna just go be me in this, in this opportunity that God brought my way.
Yeah.
Like, like, you just know that God's putting you in these opportunities for you to be yourself in that opportunity, rather than
put on a show.
Rather than putting on a show.
Maybe that was a pun there, because you're literally putting on a show.
Right.
In a different way. Wow. And that what you were just talking about, how God was prepping you in those years that you were in Texas just for your character, and, like, the retirement issue, not as an issue, but like, we love those Roth IRAs.
Right.
But that's kind of what this podcast is all about, and, like, the vision behind what I'm really passionate about is making sure you're living life to the fullest and dying living life to the fullest, because we forget about that. And so sometimes that's almost opposite for people. They don't really enjoy or whatever, excuse me, their process, and then they retire and then they enjoy life, but they're only enjoying life for however many years they're still alive. And then it's like, was the years before that a waste?
Right.
Did you work hard enough for your character with God, or were you just, and then that's, you know, of course, just a big old what if kind of a question. You don't really know, everyone's different, but it's heartbreaking to see that. And everyone has their own calling, right? So some people are supposed to be working for Samsung their whole life and love it, as long as they're loving it and bringing themselves.
Absolutely. Like when people, you know, when guys or girls or whatever like talk to me about oh man, now you're on the bigger and better things, then I'm like, no, this is just what God had for me right now. Like
So would you say you don't like that term, like God's going to bring you to bigger and better things, or is it just in the sense of career that you don't like that?
Well, one, I don't, me like personally, I don't like that phrase, but I understand what people mean in certain contexts when they say it.
Sure.
I try not to, but I mean, you know, everything can mean like the right thing or the wrong thing in a certain context.
Exactly.
So I
based off of personal opinion.
Right.
But that's interesting, because I like to hear that you personally don't like that, because to you it's like, I mean, what you were just sharing with us about how God isn't always trying to make you go up, and life is going to be based off of going up.
Like God doesn't care about that. You know what I'm saying? Like he just doesn't care. He cares about issues of the heart.
Yeah.
So like that's my success is like, okay, what is God telling me to work on? Am I working on those things? Am I getting better at stewarding my money the right way? Am I getting better at showing up in the world the way God wants me to show up? Meaning, you know, being slow to anger.
Yeah.
You know, if somebody's getting on your nerves, or
this year taught us.
Or holding your tongue. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or being able to minister to somebody, or being able to, you know, getting ready for a gig and like somebody wants to pray, you being the guy that people look to say, hey man, can you pray for us? Like God cares about that stuff more than like any gig or opportunity or whatever, because you know he owns, you know, everything is his anyway. You know what I'm saying? Right. So he can give you all that. Like he wants you to care about the issues of your heart.
Here's a weird question for you, and I don't know if it will make sense, so we'll see. Because I feel like a lot of people, Christian or not, kind of wonder if it's like almost like a calculation to get to the answer. Do you feel that the faster and better you work on your character with God, the more, quote, success he will give you? AKA, he will give you the desires of your heart, if your desires of your heart are success. Or you know what I mean? Because some people are truly like, I just want this successful career. Like, I've been working my butt off. I'm hustling my life away. But that's
going to eat you alive, and you start to find your identity in that. And, like, even if you do get it, like, you know, you're going to run your character in the dirt because of all the stuff you had to do to get there. And then when you get it, you feel like it's yours.
When it's not.
When it's not. So, like, if something goes wrong in it, like, you start to bear that as a, you know, as a burden.
Yeah. Right.
And that's not a burden for you to carry. Like, you know, I want to say I'm grateful for every opportunity.
Oh, yeah.
But if that opportunity goes away, like, I'm cool. Like,
yeah, like you still love who you are. You're in a great marriage.
Because again, my success is found in, like, am I working on what God wants me to work on? And like, that's just a decision. Like, that's just making a decision every day to, like, man, I need to like take care of my body. I need to, make sure I'm staying connected with Jesus and like those sort of things. And like those sort of things you can control. Yeah, you can't control where your next call is going to come from.
Right. Nick, this has been awesome. Truly. I feel like
actually, I want to apologize. I didn't even know if this was like
no apology needed. I don't even know what you're about to apologize for, and you can continue, but you don't need.
Or like, I didn't know if this was like I didn't know if I was supposed to stay away from like Christianity and spirituality or not.
Everyone knows that I'm a huge Jesus lover.
Yeah, there you go.
Why not? No, I'm all about that. Well, because I mean, dude, when you are someone who loves Jesus, follows after Jesus, can't honestly not talk about Jesus because
absolutely.
Hello, like we're living our life for him.
Yeah.
How can you can't not talk about him. So I'm really glad you brought that up, because even if there's someone who doesn't believe in Jesus or is towing the line listening to this, it's proof that, I mean, now that I've heard your story of like you working on your character with God during those, I guess, hidden years, right?
Yeah.
And living life for him. I mean, you've been living life for him. That goes without saying. But then seeing the fruit of that in certain ways. And like you were saying, to you, playing your gigs isn't about the gig. It's about the people that you're playing the gig with, or the people that are watching, or whatever it is. It's about the people and their connection to God. But, which also, side note, how awesome is it that you got to do Sunday service for God?
Yeah.
That's just so awesome. But getting back on track, basically, it is proof that God gives you great things because he loves you, and he wants to give you the desires of your heart. And your desire of your heart, I'm sure, was to enjoy what you're doing in music. And he's given you some really awesome platforms to do that on.
Absolutely.
And so it's like, no, I'm so happy to be talking about that on here.
Yeah.
I think that that's a really good way to end this Sunday service. By the way, my jokes are so lame.
But on Monday.
I know. Every day is Sunday.
Oh, wait a minute. Did I just blow your cover? Is this supposed to be live on a Sunday at some point?
No, it's not. These are released every Thursday.
Okay, so, got you.
Wink, it's a Thursday today. That's what today it is. So funny. Now everyone knows these have got to be pre-recorded. There's like no way I could keep up with it every Thursday. Okay, so let's I want you to give everybody your Instagram handle.
NC Bass Physics. BASSPHYSICS. NC Bass Physics. That's me on Instagram and Twitter and everywhere.
Basically all the social platforms.
All the stuff.
If people want to go follow you on MySpace, is that their
Actually,
do you still have your MySpace?
I mean, do people still have is that still?
I think it's still up.
Yeah.
I don't know my login anymore.
I mean, I've had. Actually, I shouldn't say that. I was gonna say I have the same login. I've had the same login on stuff for like 15 years. Did you have Zynga? Do you remember Zynga? Never heard of it. I don't think. Oh, maybe it was just like a local Dallas thing. But it was like the online diary platform before MySpace came out. I did have Black Planet. What? I didn't even know what that was. You didn't have Black Planet? No. You could be making that up right now, and I'd have no idea. No. Black Planet was like the black social network when I was, it was around the same time frame as MySpace. Yeah. Oh man. So don't find him on MySpace, guys. He's not there. Don't find me on MySpace. I'm probably not Maybe there. He is there. But if I am there, it's under NC Bass Physics. Okay, NC Bass Physics. And as always, you can follow us at Live Sick, Die Ill Podcast on Instagram, or you can follow me at It's Laura Landers on Instagram. But we're so happy to have you here with us, guys. Thanks for tuning in on YouTube, or if you're listening on the podcast, we're so happy to have you. Please rate, review, subscribe. I'm looking at Nick while I do this, like
he should be doing it, but he doesn't have to. I think that's all we have for you today.
Hey.
Thank you so much for being here, Nick.
Of course.
And we'll catch you all on the next one.
Yeah.
Peace.